Why millions cut sugar, but their glucose still climbs. Doctor explains. You woke up this morning, swung your legs out of bed, and went to check the number on your glucose meter. You have been so careful. You gave up the cookies, the sodas, the sweet morning cereal. You feel proud of yourself, but there it is, staring back at you. The number is higher than last week, and you wonder quietly, in that private moment before coffee, what did I do wrong? Maybe you blame the bread. Maybe you blame the stress. Maybe you blame your age. But here is the truth your doctor may not have said out loud. The sugar on your spoon was never the whole story. The real factory that pumps sugar into your blood is sitting on your right side, just under your ribs. It is your liver, and it has been quietly running its own program, day and night, fueled by stress, by poor sleep, by aging, by the fat that quietly built up inside it. That is why cutting sugar alone is not enough. And that is why today, you and I are going to walk, step by step, through the real reason your glucose is climbing. You are not alone in this. Thousands of us are learning this together, and the moment you see how the system works, the fear lifts and the power comes back. So let me show you the picture. Picture your body as a small town. The roads are your blood vessels. The cars traveling on those roads are the glucose molecules, carrying fuel to every home and every shop. Most mornings you eat breakfast. The sugar in your food gets into the road, and a very important keymaster takes charge. That keymaster is your pancreas. It makes a tiny golden key called insulin. Insulin drives up to each home, each muscle cell, each fat cell, and unlocks the door, pulling the glucose out of the bloodstream and into the house where it can be burned for energy. When that system is working, your blood glucose stays in a calm, healthy range, usually between 70 and 100 when you are fasting. That is the steady state. That is the town running smoothly. Now, what most of us never learned is this. Your liver is not just a passenger in this town. Your liver is the town's fuel warehouse, and it has a backup generator, a hidden machine that can pour glucose directly into the bloodstream, even when you have not eaten a single bite of sugar. This process has a real name. Doctors call it gluconeogenesis. Two words the average person never hears. Gluconeogenesis simply means the liver building new glucose from non-sugar building blocks, mostly amino acids from protein, lactate from your muscles, and a small amount of glycerol from fat. And this factory runs whether you ate cake last night or a plain salad. So when you cut sugar and your glucose still rises, this backup generator is one of the main reasons. Let us slow down and make the science real, because this part is the key to everything that follows. In 1989, a landmark study published in the journal Diabetes followed people with type 2 diabetes and measured exactly where the high blood sugar was coming from. The researchers, led by Dr. Agostino Consoli, found that almost all of the excess glucose flooding the bloodstream was being made by the liver through this very process, gluconeogenesis. Not by the dessert plate, not by the candy aisle, by the internal factory. Then, in 1992, another landmark paper, this time in the New England Journal of Medicine, looked one step earlier, at people who had not yet developed diabetes, but whose glucose was already a little too high. That study, led by Dr. Marie Mitraku, concluded that impaired glucose tolerance results primarily from the body's failure to switch off the liver's glucose production. In plain words, the off switch is broken. The backup generator keeps running when it should be quiet. And in 2008, two Nobel Prize-winning scientists, Drs. Michael Brown and Joseph Goldstein, published a paper in the journal Cell Metabolism that explained something even more puzzling. They called it the selective insulin resistance paradox. Here is what they showed. Insulin is supposed to do two jobs in the liver. Job 1 is to tell the liver, stop making new glucose. Job 2 is to tell the liver, store any extra as fat for later. In people with insulin resistance, job 1 is broken. The liver keeps making glucose even when insulin is shouting at it to stop. But job 2 still works often. So the liver obediently turns sugar into fat and quietly stores it inside itself. This is exactly why so many of my patients tell me, "But doctor, my liver ultrasound shows fat, even though I cut out sugar years ago." The answer is in that paradox. Your insulin still drives fat into the storage rooms, even while it loses its power to shut down the generator. I want to hear your story in the comments so I can address it in the next video, because this is the kind of information your doctor may not have walked you through in a 15-minute visit. Now we come to a discovery that surprised even seasoned researchers. There is a clock inside your liver, and that clock has a name most people have heard once and then forgot. It is called the dawn phenomenon. Almost every healthy person on Earth produces a little more glucose between roughly 4 in the morning and 8 in the morning. Your body does this on purpose. It is waking the brain up. It is giving you the fuel to open your eyes, get out of bed, and start the day. The Cleveland Clinic and Mayo Clinic both describe this clearly. In the early morning hours, your body releases a surge of hormones, including cortisol, glucagon, and growth hormone. These hormones tell the liver, "Wake up, dump some glucose into the blood. The day is starting." In a healthy person with a healthy pancreas, a little extra insulin is also released at the same time, and the whole thing balances out. The morning number stays calm. But if your liver is fatty, if your off switch is rusty, if your insulin is not as effective as it used to be, that morning surge has nothing to stop it. The number climbs. And the worst part is, you were asleep. You were not cheating on your diet. You were not eating late at night. Your own internal alarm clock was simply ringing louder than your insulin could quiet. There are published studies, including one review in the journal Science Direct, that show this morning rise of glucose is mainly driven by the liver, not by what you ate the night before. If you find this honesty refreshing in a world of medical secrets, let me know by liking this video, because what I am about to share next may be the most important piece of the puzzle. Stress. Stress is not just an emotion. Stress is a hormone cascade. When you are worried, when you are lonely, when you are in pain, when you have not slept well, when you are coping with the loss of a spouse or a long-term illness, your brain sends a chemical signal down a long pipeline to two small glands on top of your kidneys. Those glands pour out a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol's job in an emergency is to give you energy. It tells the liver, "Dump glucose. We need fuel to fight or to flee." That made perfect sense for our ancestors who faced real tigers. But in modern life, the tiger is a phone call, a worried night, an unpaid bill, an aging body. The cortisol still pours out. The liver still dumps glucose. And if you are also dealing with a fatty liver and a rusty off switch, that glucose has nowhere to go except up. So the morning after a stressful week, your number is worse, even though you did not change your diet at all. Researchers at Ohio State University documented this clearly in a study published in 2023. They found a clear link between higher cortisol levels and higher blood sugar in middle-aged and older adults. And the famous New England Journal of Medicine published work showing that critically ill patients with elevated stress hormones also have stubborn, hard-to-control glucose even when they are not eating. This is why your glucose can rise during grief, during illness, during long sleepless nights, even if your fork never touched sugar. Let me tell you about a patient I will call Elena, 73 years old, from Tampa. She came to see me last spring with a very common story. She had cut sugar completely for 2 years. No sodas, no desserts, no sweetened coffee, no juice. She had lost 18 pounds. She was proud. And yet her fasting glucose kept climbing, from 104 to 112 to 119. Her doctor was about to start her on metformin. Elena was terrified of taking another medication, so she asked me, "What am I missing?" We did an ultrasound of her liver. The answer was right there. Her liver was full of fat. Medical name, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And that fat had been quietly for years making her liver deaf to insulin. So even though her fork was clean, her liver's backup generator was running around the clock. We did not add a drug first. We focused on the 4 levers that flip flipped the liver's off switch back on. She walked after dinner every night, just 20 minutes. She shifted her meals earlier, finishing dinner by 7. She added 1 serving of protein at breakfast, eggs or Greek yogurt, to flatten the morning surge. And we worked on her sleep, because she had been sleeping with the television on for years, fragmenting her rest and pushing her cortisol up. Within 4 months, her fasting glucose dropped from the high 100s and 10s to 98. Within 6 months, down to 91. Her liver ultrasound showed the fat retreating. The miracle was not a pill. The miracle was the body remembering how to turn the generator off once we remove the obstacles. Who do you know that needs to hear this? Share it with them now, because Elena's story is not rare. It is the rule disguised as the exception. Stay with me, because the next secret is the most important one: fructose. Fructose is the sweet molecule in table sugar, in high fructose corn syrup, in honey, in fruit juice, even in agave. For decades, we were told that fructose was fine because it did not raise blood glucose the way table sugar did, and that is technically true. Fructose does not show up in your blood as glucose. But here is the part the original messaging left out. Your liver catches almost every molecule of fructose right after you swallow it. Harvard Medical School and Harvard Health Publishing have written about this clearly. The liver takes fructose and, in a process called de novo lipogenesis, builds new fat from it. That fat gets stored inside the liver. That fat becomes exactly the rust I described earlier, and that rust blunts the off switch for gluconeogenesis. So this is the hidden second door. Even when your blood glucose number does not shoot up after a sugary drink, the fructose in that drink is quietly stuffing the liver's storage rooms with the very material that will keep your backup generator running for months and years to come. Cutting table sugar helps. Cutting fructose completely is the deeper repair. Real fruit in its whole form, with its fiber intact, is handled very differently by the liver than fruit juice or sweetened drinks. The fiber slows absorption and feeds the gut, and the liver sees far less fructose in one pass. This is one of the most important updates in the science of the last 20 years, and it is one of the most actionable things you can change this week. This changes everything we thought we knew about glucose control, because it tells us that the battlefield is not just your plate. The battlefield is your liver, your sleep, your stress, your movement, and the rhythm of your day. It tells us that a single number on a glucose meter is the final score, but the game is being played across many fields at once. Researchers have published in The Lancet and in the Journal of Hepatology Communications that even modest reductions in liver fat, just 5 to 10%, can dramatically improve how the liver responds to insulin and how much glucose it decides to dump overnight. That means your daily choices are not small. They are the actual lever that moves that biggest number. The Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health and the American Diabetes Association both emphasize this in current guidance. The goal is not perfection. The goal is consistent, gentle pressure on the right levers. Walking after meals works because it pulls glucose out of the blood and into the muscles, robbing the liver of the raw materials it would otherwise use to make more. 2 short walks, 10 minutes each, work better than 1 long walk. Eating your meals earlier in the day works because it lines up the food signal with the time your insulin is most responsive, which is the morning and afternoon, not the late evening. The best part, you can start protecting yourself today. You do not need to wait for a new prescription. You do not need to wait for a magic device. You can start with 5 changes that research has consistently linked to better fasting glucose and lower liver fat. Eat your largest meal earlier, ideally lunch rather than dinner, and finish dinner at least 3 hours before sleep. Add 20 minutes of gentle walking after your 2 largest meals, especially dinner. This is the single most powerful hack because it moves glucose out of the blood before your liver can convert it into storage. Pull fructose out of liquid form. Whole fruit is fine. Juice, sweetened coffee drinks, sodas, agave sweetened products, energy energy drinks. Remove them. You will feel the difference in your liver within weeks. Protect the last hour of your day. Dim the lights, step away from screens, and let your cortisol wind down so the dawn surge has less fuel behind it. And the fifth change, the change nobody likes, is to ask your doctor about a liver ultrasound if your fasting glucose has been creeping up despite your diet. Knowledge removes fear. The same Harvard research that explained why fructose damages the liver also showed that the liver is one of the most repairable organs in the body when given the right conditions. It can shed fat. It can rebuild its off switch. It just needs months of consistent support, not weeks. You have just taken the first step toward taking control of your health, and that is not a small thing. The fact that you watched this far, the fact that you are questioning the old story that sugar alone is the villain, that puts you ahead of most of the medical conversations happening in living rooms this morning across the country. Your body has a remarkable ability to heal when you remove the obstacles and provide the right support. That backup generator inside your liver is not your enemy. It is a tired worker that has been shouting into a broken intercom for years. Your job, starting today, is to fix the intercom. Move after meals. Move fructose out of liquid. Move dinner earlier. Move screens out of the bedroom. Move stress off your shoulders with breath, with walk, with community. And you will watch, slowly, then clearly, the morning number begin to drift back into range. Your doctor may still recommend medication for some of you, and that can be the right call for the right person. But you will arrive at that conversation informed, not frightened. You will know that the liver, the stress hormones, the dawn clock, the fructose loophole, and the muscle furnace are all part of one system. You will know that the system can be repaired, and you will know that you are not alone in this journey. Stay curious, stay empowered, and the next time you wake up and swing your legs out of bed, remember, the number on the meter is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of a much smarter one.